Yo, good day, and welcome to another episode of Father's Day, episode of Father's Fire. I thought I would jump on, say hello, wish everybody a very happy Father's Day. It's been an amazing weekend because yesterday I spent the morning with Rob Husey out at the Cruise in Hidden Springs car show that's sponsored by Sydney owner of I Wash Detailing, and I'm telling you, she did a fabulous job. Over 200 cars there, and it was just a super fun morning. And then in the afternoon, came home, did the dad duties, weeded and mowed the lawn. And it's amazing what a half-acre lawn does when you don't have any kids anymore. So I'm out there doing all the yard work by myself while my wife's in working for Alaska, and my kids were out and about. Ashton was actually at his friend's Becca's bridal shower, so super, great day. And then I connected with Andy Van Order, owner of Andy's Auto Care Plus, and he took his family out on the boat with my daughter Cynthia, and we just had a fantastic time teaching them how to wake surf. It was the first time that Andy had ever done that, and his family, and they did phenomenal. It was just super fun. And like you guys, I know all of you guys have been talking about Father's Day. You've been looking forward to your grilling and your, whatever your family's doing special for you. It's I hope that you're having a great day with your family. As I was thinking this morning and over this weekend, I've been thinking a lot about a conversation that I had earlier in the week with Shon Hart, Scott, and Cole on Father's Heart podcast. And Shon asked us to come up with 5 principles that have been guiding lights for us as fathers. And we only got through 1 or 2 of them. And so I'm like, I really want to explore these. And as I thought about my experience with my dad, and one of the things that I realized in this conversation is that I was really blessed with a good father. I mean, he was very much a Navy man. I mean, he was disciplined. Our family was about structure. It's about yes, sir, no, sir, all that stuff, right? But he also was very loving and very kind. He had a temper that came out, but man, he also had the ability to say, I'm sorry. And he made us feel loved. He made us feel like we belonged to him and that we belong to each other. And that has served as such a power to me as a young man. And as I've moved into having my own family and raising my own kids. And as you guys know, I have 6 kids. So life in the Cedric household is always crazy, even though most of them are moved out. So I thought that I would look back and I would take 5 stories from my life that would highlight 5 principles that my dad tried to teach me and my siblings. I'm actually the oldest of 8 kids. So, I'm used to a big family, but my dad was really insistent on being an involved, present father. He served in the Navy 20 years, so we moved a lot together as a family. So it forced us to really lean on each other. And so I thought I'd, like I said, share 5 principles, 5 stories that were really emphasized as a young man. And when I was a kid, my brothers, we lived in Pensacola, Florida, and my brothers were like, man, we want to go to Disney World. And so we went to Dad and we're like, Dad, we'd really like to go to Disney World. And he's like, man, boys, we just don't have the money to do that. But if you guys will work together and work with me, we will work for the next year and we will save the money to get that trip. So back in the day, you actually used to be able to go to Krispy Kreme donuts and you could buy donuts at a wholesale price. And so on Friday night, my dad said, look, we're going to do this, you're going to make the order. So on Friday night, me as this 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, I would call up Krispy Kreme donuts and I'd say, I'd like to order 100 donuts. And of course, my dad's in the background, making sure that I had the conversation right. And I would order the 100 dozen donuts. And then the next morning at 6 a.m., On Saturday, we'd pick them up, load them up in the back of our Dodge Aspen wagon, and we would literally go door to door, knocking on people's doors going, hey, would you like some hot, fresh donuts? And we, for in the entire summer, we sold donuts every single weekend. And families got almost dependent on us showing up, and they would have money with us. And some days, man, we couldn't sell those dang suckers. We would be walking for miles, and it would be getting hot in Florida. We were knocking on the door, and it'd be 11 or 12, and we'd still have 10, 15 dozens. But, we eventually got them all sold. And we paid for a full trip to Disney World, all accommodations, the gas to drive there. And I tell you, it was so cool because when we went up to Disney World, Dad gave us the cash so that we could buy our own ticket. So he's like, you know what? If you want something, go work for it, make it happen. And I love that principle, that that lesson that he taught us as a kid, that if you really want it, go get it done, son. And that has become kind of a guiding force my entire life. We, in fact, actually bought a mini bike doing that exact same thing. It's like, Dad, we want a mini bike. He goes, well, you know the formula. Set a plan, go work for it, and get it done. The second thing that was kind of a harder lesson for me was my dad insisted that we don't settle for less than our best. And that became very obvious in the 5th grade when I got a D in history. Now, you got to understand, I love history. I'm really good at history. Judy's like, why is that so interesting to you? I still love history. And one 9-week period, I got a D. And my dad's like, nah, that's not going to happen. He goes, look, you can get a C in other classes because I know, especially math, that's not your strong point. But I want you to be working for that C. You're in history and you got a D. So sorry, son, you're grounded for 9 weeks. I literally was grounded for 9 weeks. And so on top of being grounded, I actually had to go out every single day, and I had to dig up palmetto trees, which, if you know, in Florida, that is not fun, and do my homework every day. And guess what? Next 9 weeks, guess who got the A? Yeah, I did. Third principle, hold yourself accountable and own your mistakes. So when I was about 16, we were living in Florida, and it was a Friday night, and me and the boys were going to go out. We had plans to go connect with these girls, and I was driving. And so I hopped in the truck, picked up my friend Lowell Shiflett. We drove down, picked up Dwayne, and then we ran into 7-Eleven, ran in. We had to get some gum, got to have that fresh breath. So go in, grab the gum, grab a couple sodas, and get in the car. And in my hurry to back out, I cranked the wheel and took out the entire side of the car next to me. Not so good. So I don't know how this happened, but I ended up driving home the truck because I don't even remember calling the cops or anything, but I drove home to the truck and I walked in. My dad's sitting at the dinner table, and I walk in and I'm like, Dad, I kind of wrecked your truck. And he goes, what do you mean you kind of wrecked my truck? You either wrecked it or you didn't. I'm like, well, I did. He goes, son, look, you have to own your mistakes. Don't come in here telling me you kind of wrecked my truck. You either did or you didn't. And you know you did. So man up and own it, because we can fix it. We can solve the problem. But more importantly, you need to own what you did wrong. And that has always stuck with me. It's like, either you kind of did something or you didn't. Don't talk around it. Own it. Fess up to it. Make it right. And of course, I had to pay the deductible. He's like, look, if you wreck the truck, we can get it repaired, but you're gonna make it right. And part of making it right is paying for the repairs. The fourth principle that my dad taught me that has really stuck with me is, he said, you need to build a relationship with God, not just go to church and worship him, but you need to build a relationship with your Heavenly Father because you are His son and you need to know Him and you need to feel His love. And I remember when I was in the 9th grade, we lived in Goshen, Mississippi, a small little town outside of Pascagoula. And it was my freshman year, and they were talking about having an early morning seminary for all of the kids at our church. And so none of the other kids wanted to do it, but my dad's like, look, because I don't care if nobody wants to do it. Me and my son are going to have it. All of the kids, and he told this to all the parents. He's like, look, I'm willing to be the seminary teacher for this year, and we will do it at my home, and we will study the Old Testament together. And I would love to have all of your kids, but bare minimum, me and my boy are going to have it. And I remember that first day of freshman year. My dad came in, knocked on the door, said, hey, son, time to get up. We're going to do our morning seminary, our morning studies. And I went out, and he had really nice music playing, and the living room was all lit up. Our Bible was open. And he said, all right, son, let's have a prayer together. And every single day, my freshman year, my dad and I sat in our living room and studied the Old Testament together, one-on-one, exploring, digging in, asking questions. In fact, that year is the year that the scriptures became real to me, that the message in the Old and New Testament became part of who I was. And I remember the very specific lesson. And that lesson was the story of David and Goliath. And I remember, my dad's like, look, son, today we're going to study David and Goliath. And you know the story. You've heard it your entire life. As you've gone to Sunday school, you've heard people talk about it. He goes, but I want to take it from a different standpoint. And he said, son, when David met Goliath on the battlefield, what did it sound like? And I'm like, I don't know. There were people in the background. There were sheep, off to the side, ban, and there's, just, I really couldn't visualize it. And he said, you know what I think it sounds like? I think it sounds like two cowboys meeting at high noon and stepping out onto the field, the battlefield. And as soon as they stepped out, the entire crowd went quiet. There was a hush that came over the crowd. And then the giant, in his boastful, mean, gruff demeanor, said, what? You send me this boy? I am the man. What are you talking about? I will feed him to the, and he's insulted. He goes, I could feel and hear the disdain for this little boy being sent out on the field. And then to hear this little boy go, today, God will deliver me in your hands. And then he put the stone in the pouch, and then the whirling, and then the release of the sling, and the stone, and then hitting him in, and just a thud, and then him wavering, and then crashing to the ground, and the sound of his 9-foot body just hitting the ground. And then the sound of the people going, and then the Israelites going, yeah, in unbelief, right? At that moment, the scriptures came alive to me. They became real stories. They became stories of people and men and women and families trying to overcome very real challenges in their life. And so at that moment, it made sense to me, and it ignited an interest in me to build a relationship, to try to understand what God was trying to tell me in my own personal life, my own little life, as well as the life of my family. And so my dad really emphasized that year of building the principle of building a relationship with God. And that has set a foundation for my entire life that I will eternally be grateful for. And the fifth and final lesson, um, this experience has probably been the most impactful in my life. Um, and that is my dad always insisted that we understand that our mom was preeminent in my dad's life. She was the queen of his world. She was his sweetheart. She was everything to him. And he insisted that we respect that not only was she our mom, but that she was his sweetheart. And I'll never forget the day we were in the fall. We were living in Green Forest, Arkansas. My dad and brothers and I had been out all morning cutting wood, and it was kind of a chilly morning. We've been out there all day and we all morning, and when we came in, we were just chilled to the bones. And so my dad, while my mom was making breakfast, decided to go into the bathroom that was adjacent to our dining room and kitchen and soak in the tub. He loved to get in a hot, steamy bath and just warm his chilled bones. And he was sitting in that tub, and I'm sitting at the table waiting for pancakes or whatever. And all of a sudden, my mom collapsed in the kitchen and just crumpled lifelessly onto the floor. And I'm like, oh my God, dad. I'm yelling for my dad. My dad jumps out of I go, something's wrong with mom. He jumps out of the bathroom, runs in, totally butt naked, dripping water everywhere, goes into the kitchen, picks my mom up, and carries her into the master bedroom, which goes through the living room and then down the hall and into the thing. And then he places her on the bed, and I'm following him because I don't know what to do, right? And see him. And I went and grabbed a towel for my dad, and I went to take it to him, and he said, son, now's not the time for that. And in that moment, I saw the most strength, the most tenderness, the most love, the most care in that single moment of time, watching my dad jump out of the bathroom butt naked, pick up my mom. There was no shame. There was just strength and love and dedication and concern for the woman of his life. And that image has seared so strongly in my heart that at that moment, like no other moment before, I knew that my dad loved and adored, cherished, and served my mom before all else. And I have made it my mission to emulate that example. And it has, so I would like to pay tribute and honor and gratitude to my dad. I appreciate the man that he was. He was very proud to be a father of 8. He's very proud to be a Navy corpsman. He was proud to have served his country. He was a very dedicated man to serving God in his various capacities in church. And I always, most importantly, always felt loved and cherished in his sight. And I want to thank him for that. I also want to take a moment and give a small tribute to my father-in-law, Ray Peralta, Judy's dad. He was probably the humblest man I've ever met that worked harder for his family than any man that I've met. At 80 years old, he was still gardening and taking care of people's lawns and growing a garden in his back and doing landscaping for his clients. He was still, all the way up to the last 3 weeks of his life, he was continually working for his family. And I'm telling you, he could cook some mean chicken adobo, except when he made it, he went after it with a full chicken and a butcher knife and he hacked that sucker up. So yeah, you got nice little pieces, but there are also little chunks of bone sometimes that you had to watch out for. But I loved Judy's dad. And he was such a he was a quiet man. The only time you got him really riled up was when he was watching WWE wrestling. He would sit there and watching. Oh, I got the watch. Oh, that can't be. I used to love sitting by him watching him. But the biggest thing that I remember about him was he showed his love by working for his family. He may have not said a lot, but I'm telling you, you knew that he loved you because he was working for you. All of you men, I want to wish you a happy Father's Day. Whether you're a single dad, an adopted dad, you've had kids your own, you're a divorced dad, you're an aspiring dad, you're looking forward to being a dad, you're a granddad, you're a dad that has lost family members, you've lost children. You're a dad who is a gay dad and you've adopted kids. I have a really good friend, Mike, Michael Quintock on TikTok. He and I have become really good friends. He started out foster caring and then ended up adopting 3 kids. And I love his example. I love his story. And I want to give all of you men a mad shout out because I know the integrity of your heart. And sometimes we don't get it right. Let's be honest, man. Sometimes we don't get it right. We make mistakes. We stumble. We're like, oh man, I was not at my best at that moment. But the question is are you willing to be authentic with yourself and recognize that you weren't best at that moment and go to your kids and go, you know what? I'm sorry. I love you with all my heart. And I'm sorry that not only did I lose my cool, but I made you feel small and I made you feel unloved. And I will do better as your dad to become a better man so that you will know that I love you and that you will feel that I love you. So all of you dads, I want to wish you a very happy Father's Day and hope you have a fantastic day with your family. And I'm hoping that I can actually get Ashton on later. I'd like to do a live with him because he and I've had some great conversations about being a dad. So anyway, you guys have a fantastic day. Happy Father's Day. And we will check you same time, same bat channel, just next week, right here on Father's Fire. See ya.